Whether you are taking classes remotely or just need to make a video presentation, there's a lot that goes into recording a speech. Not counting the research and speech writing itself, recording the speech can be a stressful process, and there are a lot of details to consider. The goal of a video speech, besides recording a good speech, is to simulate a live, in-person presentation as much as possible. You want to create a connection to your audience, eliminate distractions, and present yourself as a confident, prepared speaker who knows how to pay attention to the details. The purpose of this video is to help you know what details to pay attention to when it comes to the actual recording of your presentation. Like a true speech nerd, I've boiled it down into 3 areas to consider. Setting up your camera itself, the setting or the background for your video, and your presence on camera. But before we get into the specifics, there are a couple big picture items that I want you to keep in mind. The camera serves as the eyes through which your audience will see your entire presentation. How you treat the recording process will determine how the audience perceives you as a speaker. Details are important. Just like in the speech itself, where you should pay attention to how you stand, your word choice, and what you do with your hands, the details of how you've set up the space and how you interact with the camera should be given as much care and attention as the rest of your speech. The last big picture thing to keep in mind before we get specific is that because you are recording this ahead of time, and presumably you have as many takes as you want to get it right, your audience will have the expectation that it's good, or at least that you've had the chance to work out the obvious errors. Therefore, their standards are higher, and their threshold for mistakes is lower. This doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. Don't do 40 takes of the speech because you stumbled over a word or two. Those minor imperfections make it feel authentic. It's just important to know what kind of expectations you're up against. Now that you've got some big picture items to keep in mind, let's get specific. Here are my 3 areas of details to consider when preparing to video record a speech. Perhaps the most important thing to keep in mind is how you set up the camera. Whether you are using a phone, a tablet, a laptop, a DSLR, or any other recording device for that matter, these principles apply to it all. Principle 1, make sure you're setting up the camera at eye level, or close to it. You don't want one of those awkward up the nose angles that makes you look like you really don't care what you look like on camera. If most of what is in the background is your ceiling, then you should probably make some adjustments. This angle makes the camera, and consequently the entire audience, feel like an afterthought, like you don't really care about them. I've set my camera up just lower than eye level. The easy way to fix this is to use a tripod for your phone or tablet. But unless you're already a YouTuber or an influencer, you probably don't have a tripod. Putting your device on cardboard boxes, a stack of books, bookshelves, and even a stack of chairs can be perfectly acceptable ways to get the desired height and angle. And if you can't get your phone to stand up on its edge, no problem. Don't be afraid to get creative with how you prop up your phone or your tablet. Sandwiching it between 2 books or other objects, or leaning it against your computer screen will do the trick to stabilize your phone. No one will ever see what's going on outside the frame. Do what you have to do, whatever you do. Don't hold the phone yourself in your hand. This is not TikTok. One final note on setting up your camera. Make sure you film yourself in horizontal or landscape mode. I imagine most instructors will be viewing your speeches on a computer screen, and it will look better that way. Just make sure that your camera actually flips to landscape mode along with your device. Trust me, no one wants to watch you give your speech like this. Setting up the camera principle 2. Center yourself on camera, and not just your head. Chopping off part of your face, having a lot of empty space, or being off center, or being a bobbing head that is unattached to a body creates a very visually distracting image. We want to focus on you, not just your head. You might even consider a wider shot, one that gets more of your torso, allowing us to see your gestures and your whole physical presence in the space. It just takes a few tries and some deliberate setup time. Don't just set up the camera and assume it's good to go without doing a practice run of at least a couple sentences. Watch it back and make sure everything looks exactly the way you want it to. Now that we have some general ideas on how to set up the camera, it's time to talk about the second area of details I want us to pay attention to, and that is the setting or the background. Where you film and how you prepare the space makes a difference in how your audience perceives you. A messy bedroom or a busy area shows us that you didn't do the necessary preparations for as professional of a presentation as possible. Ooh, accidental alliteration. So where should you film? Your bedroom or a living room, a lounge, a study room on your campus, an empty hallway on campus on a quiet weekend or evening, or sometimes even outside, can all be acceptable spaces for filming your speech, as long as you consider these tips. Tip 1, remove clutter. Dirty clothes, unmade beds, open wardrobes, and stacks of stuff can be very distracting. If you don't have time to clean it all up, just move it out of the frame. No one's gonna know. Just ask your roommate before you move their stuff. And for heaven's sakes, make your bed if it's going to be in the shot. It's not that hard. It is okay to have some things in the background. Don't think you have to go find the most boring wall in the building and film there. Just be aware of what's going on in the space. I am filming this in my office, in front of a bookshelf. Obviously. I've made sure the books are neatly stacked and there are just a few decorative things to make it look nice. Nothing fancy. I even removed some of the things that normally live on those shelves so it didn't look too cluttered. Setting up the background, tip 2. Position yourself in the best lighting. Avoid lighting that will wash you out or cast weird shadows, or create a glare in any portion of the frame. Having lights directly in the frame is also not advisable. Even if you look good, but there's a glare from a ceiling or a lamp, it should be addressed. I suggest closing blinds or facing towards the window, not standing in front of it. You may even do what I did and put a curtain over the window to give me more control over the space. You could use a blanket or a dark bed sheet. I had the option of 5 light sources in this room. The window, which I blacked out, fluorescent lights on the ceiling, 2 table lamps, and a ring light. I tried every combination of lighting until I found one that I feel works the best. Right now, I have my ceiling lights and the ring light. Just be mindful of glare. That's probably been there the whole time. Lighting is another reason to do a few practice runs. You might even consider practicing in a few different spaces until you find the one you like the most. Setting up your space, tip 3. Find a space that is quiet. A dorm room runs the risk of roommates coming and going, or hallmates being loud right outside your door. A public building comes with all the uncertainties that a public space can bring. A library is a good place to find a quiet spot, but then you are the noisy one, and that's no good either. Filming outside on a cloudy day can be great for lighting and good visual effects, but also noise pollution, not to mention being stared at by every car that drives by. A little bit awkward. Cars, people, and even birds can create distractions that are definitely not wanted. One suggestion would be to reserve a classroom or a conference room on your campus. A lot of times you can reserve these for free and use them whenever you want. Having free reign of a space all to yourself for an hour gives you time to practice with lighting and the setup of the room. If you need or want to use your bedroom or dorm room, talk to the people you live with and make sure they know you are going to be recording. Ask them to be considerate and give you just the time you need to record your speech. Most people are very understanding and are more than willing to help by staying out of the way for a short amount of time. Another thing that creates unwanted background noise can be air conditioning or heating units. Just pay attention to when they start and stop. If you need to wait until right after the unit stops running before you start recording, you will cut down on just one more distracting detail. Unfortunately, my unit never stops running. Your distance from the camera can also play an important role in the audio quality. Don't get too close. No one wants to see your pimples. But don't move so far back that you're just a speck on the camera. You can get lost in all the space. The last thing to talk about is your presence on camera. From how you look to where you look, your presence on camera can make or break the entire vibe of the speech. First, how you look. Whether you are required to dress up for your speech or not, you should give some attention to what you wear. Here's just a few thoughts. Don't assume that just because you are filming in your bedroom, you can wear PJs. You can't. Don't go the other extreme, however, and wear a full suit. Overkill does exist. Think about smart casual or business casual. Take it up just a notch from everyday wear. A blazer or a jacket over a t-shirt is just fine, but so is a sweater or a cardigan. Even jeans and a flannel shirt is better than sweatpants and a hoodie. Whew, this thing is itchy. And you should probably avoid wearing hats, no matter how good you think they make you look. Where you look can have a huge impact on your audience. Remember, the camera functions as the audience. They see you through the eyes of the camera. Here are a couple suggestions for making the audience feel like you are looking right at them, into their very souls. Maybe not quite that intense. Find the exact spot on your phone where the camera is, and look right there. Avoid looking at yourself on the screen. In fact, since I'm recording on a tablet, to avoid that for me, I've turned the device around, using the rear-facing camera. It's generally a better quality anyway. If you're filming on your laptop or even a webcam on a desktop, it can be tempting to have your notes or your manuscript on the screen so you can refer to them while speaking. While this seems like a great hack, it can really be a mistake. It might not seem like it to you, but just like when you look at yourself while recording, your audience will likely be able to tell when you've broken eye contact with your camera. See what I did there? It would be better to have your written or typed notes in your hand, the way you would in a live presentation, rather than trying to hide the fact that you have them on your screen. Just one more thing about your presence on camera. Since you want this presentation to simulate a live performance of your speech, you should present at attention, the way you would in a live performance. If you're not able to stand, sit confidently. If you can stand up, stand up. This will do just one more thing to make your speech look like you have given it the attention it deserves. That's it. Paying attention to how you've set up the camera, the background you've chosen, and your presence on camera will drastically improve your audience engagement and hopefully get you the grade you're looking for. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that's okay. There's a lot to consider when setting up for a video speech. Check with your instructor. Find out what's important to them. They might disagree with me on some of my principles and offer some alternatives. But by and large, these principles will help you record a speech that looks and sounds great.